Burial is directed by Ben Parker, and it stars Charlotte Vega and Tom Felton and Harriet Walter along with Barry Weird. And in this movie, it is about a bunch of Russian soldiers in World War II. After Hitler has killed himself, they are tasked with bringing his body back to the Allies. But along the way, a lot of things begin to happen to them, and they discover that they may be being hunted by someone, but they don't know who. This movie is absolutely brilliant because it takes a concept which has already been expanded upon in so many movies, like Inglourious Basterds and so many other fantastic films, which is always taking part of World War II, oftentimes involving Hitler, and expanding on it and changing history a little bit and saying, well, what if this happened? And this is something where the plot feels tangible, but it's smart enough to take that and build on it with its own touch. Oftentimes, these movies have an action feel or a special ops feel to it. This doesn't have any of that. This film plays part horror film, and I don't have any complaints with that. I love that about this movie. This movie is extremely violent. It is extremely bloody, and it is extremely real. These people feel like real soldiers. There's nothing about their mission that's glorious. None of them are quippy one-liner, at people. They're soldiers, and they're tired, and they're fed up, and they have a mission to do, and they're going to get it done. But along the way, they're being stalked, and they're just trying to figure out what's going on, and there's some strange stuff that's happening. And they play their parts very well, all of the actors, and it works. But it mainly works because this movie is very self-aware. This movie takes itself seriously, but not too seriously. It understands what it is. It takes pride in that. And because of that, this film is very watchable. There's not like a massive looking budget for this movie. It looks kind of cheap in some shots. Almost like it could have been released on Netflix, but nevertheless it works very well. The entire premise, even the way Hitler's body is portrayed, is almost like this dark entity in the movie, which works so very well. And the way certain things begin to play out later, along with that, begin to coincide to something that feels like more. And this film does that very well. The setting is excellent, and even the time they're in. The fact they're not using these people as like American soldiers to bring them back. They're primarily Russian. They're not the heroes we often hear about, and they're not necessarily portrayed as heroes. They are soldiers, and they have a job to do, and they're doing it as best they can, and they have no qualms along the way with doing whatever they have to complete that objective. The film just really resonated very well with me, and it kind of reminds me in a certain sense of those old 60s war films when we had just a flood of them in theaters. And that's not to take away from this film. That's a large compliment. I think this film is very underrated, despite the fact I do think it is a little bit of a film that it's not going to necessarily make you want to watch it. It doesn't have a lot of rewatchability to it either. I mean, it's something where this has to be your taste, I feel like. And if this isn't your cup of tea and you're on for the cheese of it, it's not necessarily going to work for you. Because this film is very cheesy, and it's very much a big corn fest. But that's one of the reasons I love this movie. It's not getting like an Oscar or anything. It's probably not going to get much attention, but it's still something that just took my mind off of my troubles, and I had a blast watching. It has a lot of really great looking action in it, and it has some really awesome lines in here. I think the script is very intelligent. I do think it suffers from direction. A different director should have handled this movie, because though I'm not necessarily disappointed with it, I'm underwhelmed by it. The direction needed a lot more gravitas to it, and I think a better grasp on exactly what this story is and how to make that come to life. The production design isn't necessarily the best either. I wasn't entirely happy with it, but aside from that, I think the movie's a lot of fun and something that was great to just experience for a short time. It's not very long. It keeps itself fairly short, and that makes it something that is obtainable, and it's something that if you love history or you're a good history buff, I think this is a movie that'd be worth checking out. I recommend this to anyone who wants to go see it. It's a blast. It's not everywhere, but if you can find it, I mean, why not? It's probably only going to be $10 to the theater, and it might be on streaming somewhere, so who knows? It's not that bad a movie. It's pretty good, actually, and I liked it a lot. I'm going to give Burial a 7 out of 10. So thank you guys as always so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I will see you all next time.